All right, so we're here to look at my mastering chain. Hide. And I'm trying to get my screen share and everything up and make my audio work. So this is going to be a test run. So here we are sharing the screen. Let's pick a song, and I'm going to run through my mastering chain with you. One I was a little bit worried about was Black Rock Aimless right here, this one. I have this clip down 1 dB. These are my mixes, no headroom. Bounced at right around -8 LUFS. If that's real and accurate, that is. So I'm going to bring up each element. Let's check the audio one more time. All right, so you should be hearing the full fidelity of that. And my camera is right over here. So hopefully this looks good and is working. Okay. First item in the mastering chain. I did go and study some sources and looked at a bunch of different mastering chains and different processes and orders of each element in that mastering chain. First on my list is tape saturation. Now I'm barely hitting this. Watch the meters. I'll get to the drums. All right, so the drums kick in right here, so I'll give you a little lead time, and you can look at what's going on. Barely getting into the red. It's pretty gentle, okay? I'm just barely rolling off transients on the low, full range, basically, mid and high. It tends to round off the bottom and the top first, but it does let the mids out, and it saturates it just a little bit. That's the reason why we do this on our mastering chain. So a tiny bit of tape saturation. This is the Slate plugin. Into multi-band compression. Now, depending on the song, this is what I've been experimenting with, which attack to use. So if I want to control the low end independently of the mid and high, if you look at my attack time on the mid here, it's all the way open or all the way slow, because I want it to come out easy and the most, basically. So I'm on the low end, I'm torn between letting that low end kick punch come out all the way versus taming it just a little. The top, I'm taming it just a little because it's pleasant the way it addresses the top end. As you can see on the meter here, basically like 5K and up, it's controlling it independently of the mids all the way up to about 5K. And then this is 5K and up. So I can slow down the attack speed up the attack just a little to grab that a little bit firmer, more firm than the mid-range here. And then the low end, I can either all the way let it through. Let's look at it. Here's tamed by just a little 10 millisecond attack. Here's all the way up, very most slow attack. I think I do like that better, by the way. I might rebounce this, and this is the example I'm going to use for this session. This is the song I wanted to fix and was thinking about fixing. To just let that low end punch through just a little bit more. I don't want to tame it too much. It's already being tamed a little at the tape saturation stage, and then it tamed again. Even though I'm the slowest attack, it's still getting rolled off just a little. I'm letting the mids all the way through, and then I'm taming the top end, which I'm actually brightening in the next stage. So taming, then let's pull up the first thing in the isotope chain. So next would be the equalizer. Doing a little sub roll off right around 40. It generally slopes off. I did 100 bump hertz in kind of a little bit of a wide bell here. I don't want it to sound EQ'd, so I'm just bumping up the 100. That's kind of You can look at the meter. Let's analyze it. So you can see where it's missing a little there. I'm putting it a little back in. Okay, and that's probably because I was really careful in my mixes to pull out 200 to keep it really tight on the low end. I was dealing with a lot of low end elements, so I had to give each element space in the low end. Typically, I'm letting kick reach down the lowest, 50 and 60. There's a fundamental into 100 as well. Bass kicks in, bass guitar in most cases kicks in around 70, 80 up to 100. Synth basses are rolled off a little more aggressively, typically, depending on how low it reaches. I have to make a different decision, but in this case, it comes down to about 100 and then up, and then I'm pulling out 200 and 300 in most elements to keep it tight and get the mud out. So each low-end element has its space, and then I'm kind of compressing them all together, and then I have to consider what's going on and manage the frequencies accordingly. So I'm pulling out a tiny bit of 300 again on a kind of a broad curve, a little bit more narrow than the 100 that I'm bumping, and I'm pulling out just negative 0.3. Okay, and then here's my mid-range, bringing that back up. So a nice broad cue to pull out everything kind of below, gently down to this 300 negative deduction here. I'm bringing it up into the 1700s, and then another steady kind of bump all the way up to about 55, a little over 5K. And then I'm rolling it off again down to 14,000. And it's pretty gentle because I want to keep the top end, but not the brittle stuff. And then the mid-range is getting focused. So it's quite pleasant. The solo's in the mids, focusing on the mids, and we're bringing it back out, and we're controlling the low end. It starts with knowing what's going on in your mix, and I know what's going on in my low end in the mix. So I'm just barely controlling it and then bringing back a little 100. You can see what I'm doing to the top end here as well. Okay, next in the chain is a little bit of imaging. Just a little goes a long way. I'm going up to 20. That might be even aggressive in some circles, but just bring those edges out, and it stretches out the mid-range, so it even actually helps your mid-range too. This is a full band imager. I'd like to be able to have the multi-band imager. I would benefit from that because I probably wouldn't widen my low end anymore, and I had it in the mix. But in these cases, because I'm controlling the low end so well, that it's not really hurting it. So a little bit of imaging there, little goes a long way. Into the limiter, maximizer. So it's just doing a little, and I came in pretty hot. I gave myself 1 dB. I clip gain down in 1 dB, so I'm probably about negative 10 lufs in that range, bringing it back to right around 7. So here we go. See, the average is about negative 7. So that's where I want to be. Am I going hot? Sure. I mean, it's going to get knocked down when you upload to the DSP. So my philosophy is I've been kind of uploading at -8 a lot, and by the time the processing happens, I'm a little disappointed. So I'm going one more, going 7 instead of 8, -7 LUFS in and around, because I want it, if it's going to be this clean and it's as good of a master as I think I've got, then I can deal with that loudness in the DSP. It's going to be fine. It's going to be good. It should hold up and translate. So there you go. gentle limiting, IRC1, which is control, smooth and thick, limiting for a rich sound. IRC2 is control, clear and sharp, limiting and to preserve peaks. But as punchy as my mixes were, I did want to keep that additional rounding of the transients because I was really heavy-handed with transient in the mix purposefully because I want to keep the transients. So I'm just controlling them in a mild way, I think, and I think it's working for these songs. They're all mixed in a very similar range. So although I can adjust these things slightly between song to song, pretty much this is working through the whole set really well, actually. So let's go through the song finally one more time. We'll look at each meter of each plugin, and that's it. This is my mastering chain for Apophis remixed, or Black Rock remixed, which will be coming out in February. So here we go. There you go. I was really pushing the low end on these mixes, and I want to preserve it, but I want it to be controlled. So that's kind of the idea in my mastering sessions here, is take the musical decisions I made in the mix and try to smooth them, but keep the transients as much as possible, but make it so it translates on everything well, and focus on the mid-range, the loudness, the imaging, and the dynamic control. And that's the order of my chain. Once again, it's saturation, tape saturation by Slate, into the multi-band compressor, also by SSL, it's the Slate version, into the equalizer, which you can EQ it to your aesthetic you're going for. This is mine. Controlling the top end, keeping the mids forward, controlling 300, taking some out, bringing 100 back a tiny bit. Into the imager, just a little bit of width. It's translating fine. You can't be heavy-handed on these. It'll kind of phase your stuff in a nasty way. So if you use it, just got to do a little. Into maximizer limiter, IRC1, very gentle. Just smooth control. And there you go. All right, well, this was an experiment. Let's see if this turns out. I've been using Riverside, and I wanted to screen share. So there you go. Thanks for visiting. We'll talk to you later.